Welcome to the panel discussion on the strength of Jamaica's manufacturing sector here at the Explore Do Business Jamaica Investment Conference. My name is Ricky Browne and I'm the UK-based online newspaper deputy editor for the Haycox Daily. With me are Metry Seaga and Yago Castro, who will both introduce themselves now.
Yago, you go.
Okay, thank you, Metry. Well, my name is Yago Castro. I'm the managing director of Carib Cement and also country manager for Cemex, multinational cement multinational here in Jamaica. I'm from Spain, and I'm very glad to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
And my name is Metry Seaga. I wear a couple of different hats. I am the co-managing director of JFP, formerly Jamaica Fibreglass Products. I am currently the deputy chairman of JAMPRO, and I am the immediate past chairman of the Jamaica Special Economic Zone Authority.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the manufacturing sector in Jamaica, which is about 300 companies and a variety of various manufacturing activities. Over the last several years, manufacturing has been quite stable in Jamaica, even when the economy hasn't been all that stable. The expectations that manufacturing is now going to grow at a much faster rate than previously. There's some things happening like the special economic zone, which hopefully will create the opportunity for Jamaica to become a major logistical hub, amongst other things. And there's also a 5-year manufacturing growth strategy, which is now being formulated to hopefully mean that Jamaica's manufacturing sector can grow to 81 billion annually by 2025. There's always been a lot of hope for manufacturing in Jamaica, and I think that the sector has always managed to hold its own, but we're hoping that it can provide much more than it has in the past, and it can also attract foreign investment. So we'll move on to the next stage.
Ricky, if I could just correct something you said. You said the manufacturing sector is 300 companies strong.
Yeah.
There are 300 companies in the Manufacturers and Exporters Association, but there are over 1,200 companies registered as manufacturers in Jamaica. Many are small and micro-sized companies by Jamaican standards, much less to speak about international standards.
Can you give the experience of Jamaica Fibreglass products for manufacturing in Jamaica?
Thanks, Ricky. Well, our company is 36 years old, and so we've seen a lot of ups and downs throughout the sector. We have been, me personally, and our company has seen some very good times and some very lean times. However, I think that simply because of the structure within government, we have never paid very much attention to manufacturing, except for there was a time in the 60s when manufacturing contributed 22% to GDP. Now manufacturing contributes about 8% to GDP. This was because there was a push. This was because there were policies in place. It was in my tenure as president of the Jamaica Manufacturers Association that we did the 5-year plan. And quite frankly, it took simply too long to get the plan finalized and put into place. It's there now. So those are some of the battles we have had. My own personal company is at JFP is we target a niche market, a higher end market for hotels and restaurants and nightclubs and things of that nature, furnishings for those things. So we are not really focusing on the day-to-day individual who is going into a store to buy something. However, when I speak about the policies of government, it's important that, and I think the government is starting to understand that the policies for investors coming into Jamaica to use locally manufactured products should be geared to assist local manufacturing, because a rising tide lifts all ships, and investors coming in recognize that. And you know, Yago would understand that Carib Cement is going to do better when Jamaica does better, and so are our hotels, and so are other businesses that are here in Jamaica. So I think we have come around as a government, as a nation, to understand. And if COVID hasn't taught us that, nothing else will. We simply cannot put all our eggs in one basket any further. Tourism is vitally important to us and critically important, but so is manufacturing, and so is the BPO sector, and so is agriculture. So those are some of my initial thoughts.
Looking back to the 1960s, when we had 22%, did you say, for manufacturing?
Yes.
That was to do with Robert Lightburn, I think, who was the Minister of Industry. And I think a process called industrialization through invitation.
That's correct.
Is there anything now in this 5-year plan that connects to the kind of policies that we had in the 1960s, or is this something evolved?
Well, in fairness, the policies then would not be relevant today. Yeah. However, I think that one of the linchpins of our policy is that our location in the Americas, being where Singapore is in Asia, is our greatest asset that we have never used. And it has come time for us, and you said it in your opening remarks, the time has come for us to develop Jamaica's economy as a logistics-centered economy around manufacturing and services. And then and only then will we start to be able to manufacture in a real way and move the export needle in a real way and have that GDP number rise back to 25% as it should be.
For your own company, how much can you say is export, and how much is local?
Well, right now we fluctuate somewhere between 20 and 30% export, and we export currently to the rest of the Caribbean and to Latin America. However, and my company is no different, we as manufacturers have failed to use the Caribbean Basin Initiative, as it was called. I can't remember the new name. But you know, the United States allows us as manufacturers, once we import some content from the US, to export back into the US free of all duties. And with our location being where it is, it is cheaper and quicker to send product from Jamaica to the East Coast of the largest market in the world, in the United States of America, than it is to bring product from Middle America or the West Coast to the East Coast. So it's a market that we have not done enough to develop. Not an easy market to get in, especially for smaller companies. But we have to start, and we are so doing. And I think that once the government really understands the importance of our location and understands the importance of developing Jamaica as a logistics-centered economy, and allow the SEZ to develop its hub and spoke system, which is bringing in larger companies that are going to need smaller companies to manufacture components. I think that's when we'll see the needle really move. You see, just not to belabor the point, Ricky, but for too long, we have taken our natural resources here in Jamaica, our bauxite, our sugar, our coffee, and we have taken them and sent them away to nations like Europe, who have industrialized on the backs of that and have developed those products, added value, and sent them back to us and taught us how to like them. And the time has come for us to recognize it and start to do the value added here. Not all of it. We're not going to be manufacturing cars and rockets in 5 years. We get that. But there's certainly value added. So for my money, we should not be exporting very much more raw materials. We should be setting up the establishments to add the value here at home.
So you've spoken a little bit about, like bauxite and alumina. These are sectors which are not doing as well as they can, or as well as they have done in the past. I suppose we have quite a lot of labor from those areas who are maybe open for employment in other parts of manufacturing. Looking at labor, what do you think is the situation in Jamaica for labor and in manufacturing?
I always say I'm willing to put any of my workers against any worker from anywhere in the world if they are equally trained, equally managed, and equally compensated. I think our workers are excellent. But those three things have to be there. Management has got to play their part in training. We have got to set up training establishments. So we have HEART and we have other training institutions. We just don't have sometimes we don't have the stick-to-itiveness as people because the demand is so great out there. But I think we have smart English-speaking labor and very trainable. We see it when Jamaicans go away, they are the best workers in plants all over the world.
So looking at the special economic zone and the development of it, what opportunities do you see coming for yourself out of that? And what opportunities might there be foreign companies that might want to invest here?
Okay, so the opportunities for local companies are restricted, especially established companies. For the first 10 years, and I think we've gone 5 years now in the special economic zone. For the first 10 years, local established companies that are existing are not able to join the special economic zone. It is for new investments. So my company is not eligible to be a part of the special economic zone at this point. However, neither is Yago's company. However, new investment, we have a huge pipeline of companies that are established and being established in brand new industries. And the focus that we looked at in the special economic zone was for new and innovative industries that would add value. And that's what we've been looking at. And I think that we are seeing, we're seeing very good interest. What we have not done in the special economic zone to this point is develop the facility. Companies coming in still have to develop their own facilities. And my dream is that in short order, we will see those facilities established, warehousing, factories, movie lots, the things that we're going to have benefit in and advantage in doing, be established so that companies can come in and plug and play.
Okay. Yago, would you like to tell us about your company and your business in Jamaica? And maybe its place in your overall business?
Mm-hmm. Well, I would like to share my apologies in advance because, well, I'm pretty new in the country. I mean, I've been just a couple of years running the company here. So if you see that I say any, not a stupidity, but not a complete reasonable thing. Just understand that. I mean, I have certain lack of visibility, you know. So, I mean, about the cement business, okay, I have 20 years in the cement business. I've been working in 5 different countries. So what I can bring is, I would say, a quite international, broad vision about the cement business and the construction business. And what I can tell you about our business here is, first of all, we have a quite peculiar business. I mean, we are the only cement plant in Jamaica. That doesn't mean we are the only one, because we have other importers bringing cement to Jamaica, but we are the only local manufacturer in the country, right? So that introduces a little bit of not complexity, but difference on what you can, you know, say or believe are normal market dynamics, right? So we as a local manufacturer, we have a positioning in which we of course need to compete, but at the same time we need to shoulder the whole construction industry in Jamaica, right? So we are all the time in a situation in which we are basically responsible, liable for anything that happens in the construction market in Jamaica, for good and for bad, right? So it puts you in a quite peculiar situation, to be honest. We acquired Carib Cement like 4 years ago as my multinational company. The company was in a pretty, I was going to say bad situation, but it was kind of underinvested for many years, right? So the status of the equipment was very old. Some technology was not able to compete with the state-of-the-art technology that you can find in other countries. So we were far from that, right? So during the last 4 years, we've been in a process in which we've been investing, and still we are investing heavily in the company, in basically refurbishing the whole thing. So we've been able to increase our production rate up to 35% in 4 years. I was seeing the numbers yesterday, and between 2019 and 2021, we've increased 25% our production rate. And of course, we're very proud of that. We believe that this is still some more upside, and that is why we announced like 4 months ago, we announced an expansion of the plan of another 30%. So, and the idea will be to comfortably source all the market that we are now sourcing, but we are not being able to export. And the idea is to generate some spare capacity that we can also allocate in other markets. I mean, I was hearing very carefully to what Metry was saying before, and I fully agree that one of the strong points about the country is especially the geography, right? I mean, we are in such a good place, such a good platform between, you know, Central America, South America, the rest of the Caribbean, and the US, and that is something that definitely, to my humble opinion, that the country needs to capitalize further in the coming years. So that is in a nutshell basically what we are doing. What is the situation right now? And I would like to hear more questions from your side. I don't want to, you know, extend myself much more, but this is basically in a nutshell how I see things.
So you say you've increased production by 25%. How's that? Has the construction industry in Jamaica grown by that much over the last couple of years, even though there's been this pandemic? Okay, well, that's good.
That's. I mean, it's actually quite a peculiar performance we've seen, right? We've seen an increase in the construction market. I'm going to talk about cement, but you can basically extrapolate cement with the rest of the construction materials for obvious reasons, right? So between 2019 and 2021, there's been an increase of 23.9%. And that happened everything after COVID. I mean, before COVID, we used to have a market of around 1 million tons of cement a year. And now we are in a market in more or less at 1.2 million tons a year. Okay. So strangely, we've been fully benefited by the COVID, and this is a bit weird to say, but it's a reality. I mean, we've seen a radical V-shaped recovery after the first wave. It was, of course, 2020, you know, I would say that the second quarter was very, very bad for everybody. We were not an exception. But then the third quarter of 2020, and especially the fourth quarter of 2020, I would say that they both were record quarterly results for the industry in general.
So you say strangely, I mean, you're coming from a very large multinational. So how does Jamaica fit in with other countries in your scope? Is this kind of normal for other countries to see this increase in construction? Yeah.
I mean, it's being strangely normal also in other countries. I mean, we need to consider that this is a black zone, right? I mean, what happened here with COVID-19 is absolutely new rules, a new game for everybody in every segment, in every country, right? So when all this happened, we were all expecting, okay, you know what, the normal sector of the economy is going to collapse. So people won't have any money to even think about buying cement or extending their houses or buying, you know, more real estate or whatever. And it was the other way around. So what we saw not only in Jamaica, but also in Dominican Republic, we saw that in Central America, we saw that in Mexico, together with a dramatic increase in the remittances coming from US. So everybody went mad about cement, about construction, about you know, extending their houses, about I would say, how do I call this? I mean, like the reality of the capital gain associated with the real estate, instead of having money invested in quite ethereal things down there, you know? So basically, yes.
Okay. You say you worked in 5 other countries for CMEX?
Yeah.
So how does the Jamaican manufacturing environment, and including the labor workforce, compare to the other places that you've been to?
Okay, there's certain differences, right? The first one and more important one is the scale of the country. I've been working in countries like, well, my home country, which is Spain. I've been working in Israel. I've been working in Central America as well. So this is well, I was in Barbados before, so that's quite even a smaller island. But I would say the scale is different. So when the scale is different, all the dynamics change a lot. Of course, the cost of producing in Jamaica is very high. The cost of the electricity, which is something very important for us, is super high. The cost of the salaries here in Jamaica are also very, very high. I mean, when you compare the salaries compared to other countries, neighbor countries, at least the kind of salaries we are paying to our workforce, I can say is higher. And I understand that because also the country is much more expensive, you know, in a lot of more things, right? So that, in my opinion, is the first difference. Second difference is about productivity. And I always like to link productivity with education, right? And I'm not saying that people are not educated here, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that in the industrial segment in which we compete, which is very relying on maintenance, electrical maintenance and mechanical maintenance, having very strong engineers in those 2 fields, people do not study for that normally, you know, in Jamaica and in other Caribbean countries. So we have a lack of talent eventually that we are covering in the meanwhile with standard people that we're bringing from other countries, other operations. And we are now in that process of educating our people in working for us as engineers, you know. We can find very nice bankers or lawyers, a lot of other things in Jamaica, but finding good, very good, solid engineers for us, that is a lack that we're seeing. So I would say scale, I would say productivity, and very linked together with education.
How do you find, okay, if you can't find the people that you need here in Jamaica easily, is it easy enough for you to bring them from abroad? Or are there blockages?
Well, every case is different, right? An individual. I mean, you can find, of course, very good talent. So what we are now is collaborating with the university very closely. So we've launched this year our second program of what we call CEMEX Campus, which is a collaboration with the university. So last year we hired 15 young engineers, 15, right? And we brought them to the plant. Out of the 15, probably 5 or 6 will stay with you. The other ones you need to, I mean, take them out because they don't want to be with us. They don't like the way we work or whatever, the kind of industry. But yes, little by little, we are finding very good young talent. For experienced talent is what I said before. I mean, sometimes we need to import, let's say, some human resource from abroad eventually.
Okay. And looking at the special economic zone, I suppose one opportunity for you will be construction, and an increase in construction should that happen. But how are you looking for exports now for Carib cement in Jamaica?
We're looking at that very intensively. As soon as we have a 30% expansion capacity, as soon as that becomes a reality, we're expecting that for the end of next year. We are looking to different Caribbean CARICOM industries and CARICOM markets. because CARICOM, a common market, is offering a good competitive advantage for the companies that are inside CARICOM, right? So we'll be looking to different CARICOM and other Caribbean destinies. I myself, for example, take care of the cluster between Jamaica and Bahamas. So Bahamas currently is importing some material from Panama. And when you see a map, that doesn't make a lot of sense, right? I mean, it's just far away. So again, we need to take advantage of our strategic location to start exporting to Cayman, to start exporting to Bahamas, and to start exporting to other, even other further destinies like Guyana, for example, which is a market that is now pumping up dramatically because of the oil boom. So I guess that we might be in a position to export to several markets in the Caribbean basin, basically.
And what about incoming investors? Is there any scope with that for you, or is there any advice that you could give for anybody thinking of investing in Jamaica?
I mean, it's what I said before. I mean, I really don't know a lot about the tax environment or benefits or those economic, special economic zones or things like that. I'm not very much into that. What I could say to foreign investors is that these countries much more serious than it looks like from an investor point of view. Sometimes you can have the impression, and I don't want to sound as anything. I mean, it's just what people might think and say, oh, it's Jamaica, because maybe what happens with my money if I go there and invest, my money, is my money secure? Is that gonna be, I mean, and I'm telling everybody, I mean, this is a serious country. You might concur with the policies or whatever, and I don't want to talk about politics because I don't know anything about politics, but what I can tell you is people are serious. When you sit together with people, you have very relevant businessmen who know what they are doing. The politicians, I think they know what they are doing. It gives the impression that if you come here and invest, of course, you can have either a good or a bad business. Of course, nothing is 100% secure in life, but it gives the impression that it's a good environment to do business. I mean, when I compare Jamaica to my countries in Europe, I don't see such a difference in, in what country is more secure in order to bring your investment and be secure and have opportunities. So I would say that is the most important thing. And the other important thing is once you do a profit, I mean, it's not that the country is very hard on taxation, right? It's not that, okay, they want to keep your money. If you're going to do money here, it's impossible to take out the money to somewhere else, So those two things, being secure about, okay, it can go bad, it can go well, but my money won't be stolen, won't be, nothing strange is going to happen with it. I mean, and at the end, if things goes well, I could take and repatriate my profits, and those two things, from a very high level point of view, as you can see, I mean, I don't have the details. I think it would be my advice if you allow me to a foreign guy thinking about investing in Jamaica.
Yago, I'm so happy you said that. Sorry, Ricky. I really am so happy you said that because, many people, many investors think see Jamaica as a banana republic, and we simply are not. And the economic environment in which we are operating, and the banking system, and the ability to take your money out when you want it, hundreds and hundreds of millions of US and dollars and British pounds and euros are being exported by international companies on a daily and weekly basis. We simply have no restrictions, and we're one of the oldest democracies in the Western Hemisphere. So we are certainly in the region, and we have a stable democracy, and our banking and our legal systems are all really first world. So thank you, Yago, for saying that. It's important.
No, I agree. I agree with everything you said. Fully agree.
Metry, could you touch a little bit more on that 5-year plan and what it might involve for future investors and yourself?
Well, and it was done some while ago, so I don't have it in front of me, and I'm no longer the president or even the immediate past president of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association. But from what I remember, it really spoke to us using the resources that we have. So, for example, So the economic zone was one of the pillars of the plan. One of the other pillars was to use the natural resources that we have for agriculture, and to develop the agriculture in a way that we could add value to it and then export or use for ourselves. So when I say use for ourselves, having the government procurement policies changed so that we can give benefit to local manufacturers, and two, to develop the linkages with the tourism sector, so that instead of the tourism importing billions of dollars of value-added products and even agricultural items like potatoes or tomatoes, for us to be able to utilize those linkages. And I think those are two of the key elements of the strategic plan moving forward.
There could be a lot of opportunity for manufacturing for the tourism industry that might not currently be used.
Right.
To advantage.
Absolutely. And as I said, it's about the policy, and it's about letting investors know that when you come here, yes, you're free to do what you want, but within certain constraints. And my own feeling is that I would like investors to start looking in country first rather than looking at outside, so everybody is looking at the cheapest product to buy. And I'll speak for my own industry. I'm in the furniture business, so I manufacture furniture for hotels and restaurants. So when a large hotel is coming to Jamaica, we want the policies to have them at least give an opportunity to the local companies to manufacture here. It's good business. It's good business for the country, and it's good business for the people that are investing here. Because as I said earlier, rising tide lifts all ships. So, hotels don't want to come to an island that is destitute and its people are poor. That's not what's going to make them a lot of money. And Jamaican is making investors lots of money, or they wouldn't be here.
I think something that concerns potential investors, apart from the Banana Republic image that they might have, is the size of the market, which is small. It's 2.8 million.
Yeah.
The might help tackle that, and as you said, the closeness to the American market. Does CARICOM carry much advantage? We're talking about some other small countries, so what's the advantage there?
So CARICOM combined is about 11 million people. Relatively small, depending on the size of your company. But we are not looking for manufacturers to come to Jamaica to service the Jamaican market. Whilst it's important and it's a start, we want companies like Carib Cement, CEMEX, to be coming to Jamaica to start there, but to do exactly what Yago is doing: building capacity, building productivity, and taking that productivity to the world. So they're moving in a structured way. They're moving to the next step, which is the Caribbean. My hope, listen, if you spit north, it lands in Florida. And if you spit south, it lands in Latin America. So there is no good reason why we are not utilizing two of the richest markets in the world that are at our doorsteps. And it's simply because our mindset has never been there. We have never had that mindset. And it is important. And I'll confess, I've been there. I've been, throughout my 36 years in the manufacturing business, I have been at the point where I've said, no, we need to stop imports from coming in and we need to block these. No, we don't. I'm a convert. So I recognize that what we need is we need to give our local manufacturers an opportunity to build and grow. So there may be some protection for some period of time in some industries that we are capable. But in the long run, what we want is to make ourselves competitive, productive, and able to export. Because any manufacturing, if we are expecting manufacturing to carry its weight and to be an integral part of this country's GDP, it's not going to do it with 2.5 million people. Simply not going to do it.
Mm-hmm. I think another important point, which you've spoken about before, and you, Yago, is to do with the repatriation of profits and the trust or the belief that you have in the Jamaica's legal system. Would you like to touch on that and say what it is about Jamaica's legal system that might make it better than some of its neighbors or competitors? Yago or Metry?
Well, I can't speak to the legal system. What I can tell you is that our financial system and the way it's set up, we have put ourselves in a position, and starting with the previous government and moving into this government, that really just tightened their belts and said, listen, we're going to get our house in order. And we moved our debt to GDP ratio from nearly 140 down to about 100. And that has put us in a strong financial position. We have an independent central bank, and anybody, and I'm sure Yago can testify to it, when he needs money to repatriate to his head office, he gets it. We have a system of that's based on demand and supply, and it works, as far as I know.
Yes, well, I'm not a legal specialist by any means. I just basically know how to produce cement. But I mean, don't want to be reiterative in my point. I mean, I think it's the image of seriousness of the country. I think it's an asset, a goodwill asset, if you want. We also support it. I mean, this idea of, yes, I agree with Metry. I mean, the financial system is solid. You can see that from a legal point of view. How do you say this? I mean, I haven't felt any insecurities as yet. I mean, I don't know how better, the legal system is in Jamaica compared to Dominican Republic or, well, I was going to say Cuba, but that's a different story. But I mean, you go to, I don't know, Cayman Island, whatever. I guess that, I mean, every country in the Caribbean is different in a sense. I mean, there's a lot of diversity there. But what I can tell you is that, I mean, every time you need to do business, every time you need to go through any administrative process, etc., you see that the legal part of every business you do is quite solid. Sometimes we can say it's too bureaucratic. You can see that the legal part is extremely bureaucratic. Eventually, that happens. That it slows down the way of doing business eventually. And I want to say that there's some room probably for improvement there. To have a more pragmatic approach in certain things. I mean, I detect that eventually everything is very tied up to protocols and very bureaucratic, but at the same time, that produces a sensation of secureness from the legal angle of doing business. But I mean, I'm no one to compare, of course, the legal situation of the country compared to other ones.
Okay. I want to look at labor a little bit, at unions. How do you find workers' unions to work alongside them? Are they good, or are they not so good? I mean, I know that people in general probably don't like them too much, but maybe they're better than in other countries.
Metry, I think you're gonna take that one first, right?
Sure. Listen, my factory is small. We have about 100 workers. And over the years, we started out without a union. Somewhere maybe 10, 15 years ago, a couple of workers got together and they brought a union in. And within 9 months, they asked the union to leave. and because we were treating them better than the union thought we had needed to. Unions are unions all over the world. If you treat people with respect, unions in Jamaica live by a particular code. You must give an employee the opportunity to defend themselves in every case. I would say that I have seen some unions operate in other jurisdictions that are much more unreasonable than ones in Jamaica. I think our unions have grown. I think our union leaders have developed and are looking at best practices and recognizing the shortfalls that some of our workers have and have had and are helping to build. So I think that we do have unions here. They are strong, but I don't think they are. I don't think they're prohibitive in any way. That's been my experience, at least.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope I laid the foundation for you to answer.
Yago?
Yeah, sorry, I'm in the middle of two screens and I was a bit lost. No, I basically agree with Metry said. I mean, the Caribbean region is strong. I mean, it's unionized. Unions are strong. I mean, they are strong in Barbados, they are strong in Trinidad, and they are also strong in Jamaica, right? So if you compare that part with what you can see in other countries, you can go to Europe. Europe, we also have strong unions. I mean, but probably the position of the unions have evolved basically, and probably they lost some power in the last 20 to 30 years, no doubt about that. As far as the economies move more towards free economies and liberal economies, which is basically, I would say, generally talking, right? I mean, you have everything, and you can see my country. We're going but I mean, it's more going to liberal model scheme, right? So here in the Caribbean, I mean, unions are strong. I would say that in Jamaica, they are strong. We have a heavy unionized staff, and I'm gonna lie to you. We go through rough and intense negotiations with them. But yes, I agree with Metry that at least they are not, I mean, they are using the leverage and the bargaining power in an educated and reasonable way. Eventually, at the beginning of the conversations, you can see that the difference are steeply big, right? And this is something I learned when I came here and said, well, this guy asking 30%, where is he living, right? But then you understand that it's a way of negotiating, and you know, every environment has a different way of negotiating. And then when you you know, approach different postures, and you see that at the end, people willingness is to have a better future for them and their families. And we are not against that system, that model. Sometimes when I talk to my colleagues about the salaries and benefits we are paying our people, they say, oh, you're crazy. I mean, you need to reduce that. You need to have, I mean, and we don't believe that is the way forward. I mean, we like the idea of our people being, you know, fairly paid so that they can have fairly good futures for themselves, from their families. Because otherwise it's impossible to create this long-term loyalty, right? So yes, they are heavy, they are strong. You need to, of course, reserve a good portion of your day to talk and negotiate about several things. But at the end, I think that they are using, as I said before, the leverage on a proper way, in a reasonable way, on an educated way. It's not that they are just, at least what I've experienced here, is not that they are taking things to the extremes, you know.
Okay.
I'm not seeing that so far. I hope I won't see that in the future either.
So with your business of cement, which is construction, do you see any other possibilities for other investors to come in with something that is not cement, but something that might be complementary to your industry?
Well, I mean, this is a market that is evolving, right? And is, I mean, how do you say this? I mean, the way of using the cement here in Jamaica is 75% in bag cement, and mostly that bag cement is going to the informal market. So when you say informal market, is because they are mixing up the cement and producing the concrete on site with their hands, and they are building whatever they have to build. But that is not the trend in other countries. In other countries like Europe or US, you will see that that trend is exactly the opposite. You will have 25% of that bag cement, and the rest 75% is more what we call industrial, channel industrial segment. So I would say that there's an opportunity there. Not necessarily we need external investors. It can be also local investors. I mean, I think there's a good portion of capital here in Jamaica. There are a lot of people, you know, thinking about entrepreneurship, thinking about doing business. A lot of smart people with the right amount of capital, sometimes with a spare capital to be allocated. And I think that being part of that transformational evolution, you want, from the informal to the formal sector, from the usage of bag cement to the usage of more sophisticated products made out of cement, like mortars and ready-mix products, you know, this is more the trend that will unavoidably come in the coming years. And together with that, you need certain investment in new plants, in new technology, you know, new capacitation for your people as well. So I think this is a normal, logical evolution pattern that can be capitalized, not only by international investors, but also by local people, you know, who's willing to enter this market.
Could you give me what you think of of the future 5 years from now, how your company will do and how manufacturing might do in Jamaica? I'm going to ask both of you, but you can decide. Yeah.
Okay. So 5 years from now, that's a tough one.
Well, 5 years from now, but over the next 5 years. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what's going to happen in the next 5 years. I would say politically wise, and again, I do not follow any colors, right? Either orange or green in the case of Jamaica. I don't care. But I mean, politically wise, I think that it's expected that we'll have some stability in the policies, in everything that we've been discussing in the conference. At least that will give us some visibility about certain kind of policies to be applied. We'll more or less know how it's going to be the play field, right? So I think that is one good thing. The other thing is that, and I'm talking more about my sector, my business, at the end, we are seeing the demand quite in a peak right now. I don't foresee that we are coming back probably to the levels that we used to have 2 years ago. I think that as soon as the economy is able to produce that, how do you call that in English? Like the primary superavit.
Surplus.
Before paying back the debt. I mean, if you're able to generate that superavit, right? If your revenues are about your expense before paying back the debt, I think the natural trend for the construction industry, taking into account the level of development of the country, right? We're talking about a poor country with a long way to go, you know, with the right trend, but a long way to go. So as soon as Metry was saying, you know, as those primary macro financial indicators are in order and they're keeping the same trend, and as soon as the policies are applied reasonably, I think that there's certain, how do you call it, structural levers, you know, that should drive up. I'm talking about single-digit growth, right? I'm not expecting double-digit growth from now in my industry, but we're expecting like a stable growth, compound growth, if you allow me, in the low single digit. I would expect something like that in the coming 5 years. From our side, we're betting on that. As I said before, we'll keep on investing. I mean, we have a very ambitious 5-year capex plan. I can tell you, we have a base capex annually wise of $10 million that we are investing. And for example, next year it will be like 40 to 50 because of this expansion that I explained before. And the idea is, because I already have bucketed that for the coming 4 years, 2023, 2024, 2025, 2026 to spend 10 million US dollars a year. So we are betting on that. Our macro projections says that. It's going to happen, I don't know, but I mean, we have certain confidence in having a visible play field and a reasonable growth, low single digit probably, but compound annual growth in the coming years.
Okay. Well, what about cement for roads? Is this part of your plan, or how's that going?
Sorry, cement for, sorry?
Cement for roads. Instead of
for roads. Yes, this is this is a very pretty used topics, you know, right? It's saying like, wow, why you guys don't get into the concrete roads? Our roads, you know, they are breaking up or falling apart all the time. Every time we have a storm, we have a hurricane, you see, and it's true, you know. I mean, first of all, we know how to do these concrete roads, but we are not a construction company, and we've had certain experiences in other countries, and we don't want to be in that segment anymore. I mean, it's not that we are willing to integrate ourselves vertically downstream and start building concrete roads in Jamaica. That's not going to be our business idea by any means. So probably partnering with our construction companies, especially with companies with some experience in infrastructure, that can be an option in the coming years. But our role there would be like, of course, providing all the materials that are needed, but maybe advising on the kind of machinery and solution to be applied. But for our side, that is not something that we are, you know, visioning or envisioning to vertically integrate downwards, as I was saying before. So I think this, and the other thing is, the other angle is the cost. When you see the whole life cycle, it's better to build on concrete, especially in these kind of countries in which it's difficult to have a recurrent maintenance bucket every year, you know, to be spent. That's one issue, and the other issue is the climatology, right? I mean, you have very hard and intensive rains. You can have hurricanes. I mean, the durability of the roads is important, but also the initial investment is higher than the asphalt. Not a lot higher, maybe 15–20% higher, but that impacts the baseline of the budget of the country as well. So getting into that additional investment is not always easy, you know, to get. So eventually we'll get there. I think it's a trend. I don't see my company being a main actor in this, but we could be a support for anyone interested, and we will try to support them as to the maximum of our capabilities.
Okay. Metry, is there anything more you want to say about the special economic zone and what sort of company?
Well, to be honest with you, Ricky, I'm very bullish on Jamaica. I think that as Yago said, we're starting from a low base. There's a lot of investment ability here in Jamaica. My own company, we are in the process of deciding to go public on the junior market, which is another very interesting thing that has been done by the government. So we are hoping before the end of the year to be going public, and it's exciting. We're looking at mergers and acquisitions and partnerships, and I think that Jamaica has a lot to offer to investors, both locally and international. We're a good place to do business. We're an hour away from the continental United States. We are 2 hours away from most places in South America. We are perfectly located. We speak the language. We have the workforce. We have good infrastructure. We have good roads. I mean, there are places in other parts of the world that lose power every day. We have good power. We have good connectivity. We have good services like internet, and so yeah, electricity might be a little expensive, especially for Yago's industry, but prices are coming down and have come down significantly. There's the opportunity to use solar. We have 350 days of sunlight every year. So the opportunities are there, and Jamaica is very, very hot. And I encourage anybody that's looking to invest to look towards Jamaica. It really is the place to be. And when you come, you know why you've come.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yago, is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, well, very well said, Metry. I think that was
Thank you.
a good closer. I fully agree. No, from my side, thanks for the invitation. Again, apologies.
Thank you.
I'm just starting to learn a little bit how to be Jamaican. I think at least I could bring, you know, a different angle, perspective from, you know, a company that is trying to do a good business here, is doing a good business here, and is betting to have a good business here for the long run. So I think that perspective is interesting. There are companies that could bring it as well. I mean, we have other international companies, and I can assure you that I know the managing directors and the general managers of many other companies in many other sectors, and they're also doing good business here. So when I'm talking about my experience here, is also what I hear. It's not only what I see in my company. And yes, I think that the country has a brilliant future. There's certain things that we need to take care of course, like every economy worldwide. But yes, I agree with Metry that somewhat the future is good. And yes, I encourage international investors. Let me tell you, just to close, that I did the same. I just sold my flat in Spain. I brought some money here, so I'm investing now in Jamaica. So
excellent.
Yeah, I'm saying that is because I mean it. So I don't like, as we say in Spain, to sell smoke, right? I like to sell cement, but no smoke.
That's a good sign if you've been in 5 other countries and,
yes.
and now you're
Okay, we can put that off the record, okay, about my personal investment. That is true. So, and again, thanks.
That's why I said when you come, you know.
Yeah.
And thanks for the invitation to JAMPRO. A very good relation with JAMPRO since I came. Thanks to Diane and all the team. So I hope that the event goes very, very well, and we can bring some more investors to Jamaica.
Great.
Good way to end.
Thank you.
Well, great meeting both of you too.